All right, step 2 in my slab box design. So now I've taken the time to kind of clean up the box and hide the little pieces where the two pieces of clay come together and it's setting up nicely. I can now address the lid. So with my lid, as I was cutting, it got a little wonky. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap the sides just to tighten up those edges again. Now for the lid, let me make sure you can see this. Like that's better. For the lid, I want to create a coil that fits inside the inside piece of my box. So now the outside of my box fits my Post-it note perfectly. You see that? But I need something to kind of go to the inside. So to do that, I kind of make my own little template here. So I take my box, I'm gonna make sure you can see, and I'm just bringing it over to my lid where I gave myself about a 1/4 inch overlap. So it's a little bit too far over on this side. Something like that. And I'm just gonna lightly rock my box right onto that piece. So it gives me guidelines as to where I want to add in my coils. I could also take my pin tool and just very, very lightly trace the outside edge of my box. In the end, I want to hide that, but just for demo purposes. So now when I lift my box, I see an imprint and I know exactly where my coils need to be placed so that the lid doesn't just slide off. So first thing I'm going to do is take my clay and I want to make a coil just big enough to kind of fit in the inside marks of that box. And if I wanted to save myself a little time, I could make double the size. It doesn't need to be really, really big. It's just going to kind of hold that lid in place so it doesn't pop off later on. So this looks pretty good. So I know if I cut it here, that'll give me enough room for the other one that I need. So I'm just going to take my pin tool and cut that. And I'm going to dry fit it right onto here. Just going to lay it in there. Other side. Just going to lightly lay that in there. Okay, so I know just looking at my design, I can cut off a little bit extra on both sides. And I still might go in and cut some more off too. It just all depends how everything fits together. But those would be the outside coils. I still need a coil for the bottom and a coil for the top. I might thin this one out. Just kind of use what I've got handy. There we go. Trying to keep them pretty well, you know, the same thickness. Taking off that little extra. It is going to be important that it fits with inside those lines that I put on here. Grab some more clay. Some of my clay is getting a little dry. Let me find a better piece. I'm going to start my last coil here. Just rocking my hand back and forth. I'm going to find the best little spot. I might cut this down here and something like that. Looks like a little too big yet. I can cut about a 1/4 inch off on this side and off on that side. And I'm just checking to make sure that it's all fitting inside those little lines that I put for myself. Okay, that looks like it fits pretty well. Now I would go ahead and slip and score each one of the coils. I'm just scoring the spot on the lid and scoring the coil. Again, I don't want to score too much because I got to clean that up later on. I'm just rolling the coils out of the way. Slipping and scoring. Okay, do a little dry fit. So now I know I need scores on this one. Doesn't really matter what side I use, as long as I've got a place for the slip to go into. All right, so now I'm ready to start bringing my slip over. Again, you can use your finger or a brush. And I'm just going to add in some slip. I can dip my piece right in, or I can just bring it over. Adding slip to the top coil. Positioning. Got a little too much slip on this one, so I'm just going to take that excess off. Put it back into the container. And now I'm on my last coil. Making sure that I fall within those lines before I lock it down into place. Looks pretty good to me. I think I could take just a little bit more off this upper edge. This side looks good. Now I can start blending my coils together. Again, I don't want to see where the two pieces of clay come together. You kind of want to hide or mask that. So it looks like it was all one coil. Just getting my fingers along the sides and blending that out. Making sure that it fits within inside that little square that I gave myself. It's looking pretty good. I would probably work another 20-ish, 15, 20 minutes on this to keep blending it. Now I'm lifting the piece and checking the sides. Still got a lot of blending work right over here. If your finger doesn't fit into an area, that's when you can pick up a different tool and just sort of blend it up and out. That looks pretty good to me. So now I'm just going to check the fit and make sure, yep, it's fitting right into the little box. So now that the lid is not going to slide off, and I've checked my fit, everything looks good. Now I could go ahead and let this set up a little bit further before I add in a handle. Because I do want to start thinking about, all right, how am I going to decorate this so it doesn't just look like a plain kind of box? What design do I want to add? What pieces of clay do I want to add to it? Or what kind of handle do I want on the top so I can lift the box without grabbing the outside edges? And then lastly, what feet do I want to add to the bottom of my piece so it sits up off from the tabletop here? I would need to think about 4 feet. I could use some small balls of clay, or I could use rectangular pieces. I could follow with the square shape and do more square shaped kind of pieces. But I want to choose something that goes along with the rest of my theme. So if I wanted to make this theme, I'm just thinking of some of the examples off from Google Classroom, like a puzzle shape. So with those organic kind of lines. For the bottoms, I might go with more of a round ball of clay. If I wanted to do something more geometric in nature, like man-made shapes and lines, then maybe for the bottom, I might go more for a rectangle kind of lift. It doesn't have to be big, but you do want to have it up off the table so it sits nice and flat. And then whatever theme I go with, I kind of want to bring that up to the handle too, to kind of finish off my design. So I'm going to take this off because it still needs to set up a little more. Otherwise you start getting some warping. And then on the box, I could continue pinching those edges or smoothing out some of my work. Taking, I have a little sponge here that's just damp, helps get some of those fingerprint marks off your piece. All right, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, you are working on getting your lid finished, thinking about the feet that you want for your slab box, and then start working on getting your design added into it. Bye-bye.